Well, hello, sports fans. This is the first Tokyo Breakdown numero one. Stuart is just about to leave for Tokyo. He's still in Oxford, the intellectual capital of the world. He's heading to Tokyo. I'm in Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin, and I will remotely be covering Tokyo, and we will have photographs and interviews and all kinds of fun things from the Tokyo Olympics, which begins I think it begins in a few hours. Well, Stuart, good to see you, my friend.
I believe the opening ceremony is sort of is about 20 hours from now, and I'm flying in just over 24 hours.
Wow! And, now, are you going out of Heathrow?
I'm going out of Heathrow.
Okay.
I'm flying with Japanese Airlines, but actually it's booked through British Airways. They're a partner airline. So I mean, I'm excited about going. I'm a little apprehensive about all the documentation that you have to get, the apps you have to working on your phone, and they don't work until the Japanese have done certain things. I mean, like I'm required to put in a plan listing everywhere I want to go in Tokyo. And until that is approved, the app that you have to have on your phone doesn't work. I mean, I downloaded the app, but it won't be activated until my plan is approved. I mean, my plan is so exciting. Let me tell you, I put down that I want to go three places. The athletic stadium, the main press center, and the Olympic Village press center. So,
about the same places I would have gone. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you see, I mean, some people are wanting to do all sports, but I just thought, forget that in these circumstances. Mm-hmm. You know, no traveling on public transport, no eating in restaurants, bars, except the official Olympic restaurant. So it will be my fourth Olympics, but the strangest one, without any doubt. And of course, athletes are being told to come in no more than 4 days before the competition and to leave 2 days after. So most athletes will neither be at the opening or the closing ceremony.
Wow. Now, is Britain having a training camp?
Yes, we are in Yokohama, which is, I would call it a suburb of Tokyo, but it's actually a separate city. But it's on a direct train line and about 3/4 of an hour away. It is where the World Relays took place 2 years ago, and Britain had a sort of preparation camp there, and they've gone back to the same place to a local university. Mm-hmm. And most of the team are there. Some of them are still arriving. I've actually spoken to about 7 or 8 of the athletes who are out there at the moment. They tell me it's such an exciting life that you eat, you sleep, and you train. And that's it.
Wow.
And you spend the rest of your time in your room watching Netflix or whatever. And when they eat meals, they sit on a table for 4 people with a big Perpax screen between them in both directions. So you're actually almost like in a little booth on your own. But there were 6 British athletes who were on a flight with somebody who subsequently tested positive, and then they initially said we're going to have to isolate for 10 days. But that was negotiated down to 4 days when they had 4 consecutive negative tests. But I mean, I felt everyone I spoke to was being incredibly cautious. Dean Iser-Smith said she thought that no one could get within a mile of their hotel. The security is so tight. People like Dina's mom is a real character on the scene, and she goes to everywhere where Dina competes. Mm-hmm. And of course, she can't come to Tokyo because no spectators and not even guests. Tiffany Porter, though, has found a way of getting her husband to come. by having him as her coach.
Yeah,
Yes, Walter.
that's the proper way of doing it.
Yeah,
Tiffany's a smart woman, besides being a
yeah,
fine hurdler. So,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's now is
Yeah,
does Tiffany's husband coach Cindy too?
yes,
Are they coached by
I
different?
was.
Okay.
Yeah, no, they're both coached by Cindy. But actually, I haven't really asked about this, but I understand that Jeff has now got a new job, which is a few hours away from Michigan, where they currently live. So quite
Mm,
how that will work out for Tiffany, well, rather not for Cindy, because obviously Tiffany's going
yeah.
with her husband. But
Yeah.
Cindy will be staying in Michigan, so therefore they will not easily train together every day if they're a few hours
Wow.
apart. Now, I was having a little bit of fun with the sisters because I said, an Olympic medal would be a nice thing to get, but the real issue for you two is who's going to be the family champion.
Uh,
And I mean, the current favourite is Tiffany, who beat Cindy in the British trials. But in the European indoor, Cindy came second and Tiffany came third. So, who is going to get the bragging rights in the family championship?
wow, that's a rivalry. We'll have to watch that. I like that. I like that.
Tiff,
I had
Tiffany
a I had a
once,
good.
let's just say, Tiffany once said to me, I love to warm up with Cindy, but then for 13 seconds, she ceases to be my sister. She's just another athlete I want to beat. And then after 13 seconds, she comes back to being my sister again.
Um, I recall Jody Williams and her little sister Hannah
Yes?
competed in the 400, and they
Mm.
both did quite well. Did Hannah? How old is Hannah? Is she like 17?
She's a little bit older than that. I don't have the details without looking it up. But I mean, she's in our relay team.
That's what I was wanting to
She,
know. If she made the
yeah, yeah,
relay
she did.
squad. Wow.
And I mean, Jody said really, if she could have one wish this Olympics, it would be to run the leg after Hannah in the relay so that she actually takes the
Wow.
baton from her sister. Um, and I mean, she said it's great for Hannah because I'm around and I can explain how it all works and so on. So, yeah.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I've got a piece coming to you on Jody when I find time to write it up. Really, really fascinating that, she ran the 400 and the 200 an hour apart at Gateshead, not the anniversary games. But it wasn't actually planned because she had just gone to run the 400 to get a faster time and she ran a PR. Found that there was a spare lane in the 200, decided to run that, and goes out and runs the fastest time she's done for 5 years.
Wow. Now, who is she? Who are they coached by? They coached by the same person or not?
I'm not sure who coaches Hannah. The Jody had a complicated coaching situation because for a number of years she was at Altus with Stu McMillan,
Sure.
and so she's half coached by him, but also
Hmm.
by Ryan Freckleton in the UK. I mean, she said that the last 2 years, as everyone will understand, where she was located was largely determined by COVID. You know,
Hmm.
you come back to England for 2 weeks and find you can't leave and get back to America for 3 months. So she's had Ryan running most of her programs, but Stu involved on a sort of very regularly as well.
That's interesting.
Um,
How is our school teacher Jess Knight doing?
well, she's given up teaching. She gave up teaching at Easter because she
Okay.
thought really, I mean, typical of the attitude she has. She said, "I just felt I wasn't fair on the children because I mean, she said the school's been brilliant, allowed me to go off I mean, I got a chance to go to a warm weather training camp in Dubai. And the school said, of course you must go. But then she thought, and she was actually doing lessons over Zoom with the kids.
Wow.
But so she said she'd actually given up teaching. And I mean, she left the school on the basis that the head teacher said to her, whenever you want to come back, there'll always be a job for you.
Wow.
But at the moment, if I would think that she is almost certain to become a funded athlete. I mean, we talked about this last year that because of the pandemic, they didn't take anyone off funding, so therefore they couldn't put anybody new on. But I think she'll get funding. She is going to run the women's relay, but not the mixed relay, because the mixed relay comes before the individual event, and she thought she should save herself for that. I mean, she's such a realistic, modest girl, loved to make the final, feels that success for her will be to run a PR. You know, if you run faster than you've ever run before, it's hard to criticize.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. And it's she's just outside, I think, of I think she could run a PR, make the final, and I would pick her. She runs her brains out, top 6. It's going to be really tough because it's the women's 400 hurls. You know, we've been talking about Femke Bowl, and then we've got the U.S. team that's just tremendous right now. Delilah Muhammad obviously ran quite well at the U.S. trials, but she was having a little bit of a muscle niggle, as you call them. And and Sydney, I talked or observed Sydney last night in an interview with USA Track and Field, and everything seems to be going well. Very confident after the 51.9, but she said it's not really about the record. But I think that women's hurdles, much like the men's hurdles, 400 hurdles, is going to be tremendous. I wanted to share with you a little bit off the interview that we'll be posting on Friday with Grant Holloway. When Grant at the Olympic trials ran a 13:11, then he came back in the semi and ran 12:81, just off Aries Merritt's record, and then he won in 12:96. And what Grant told me was that 12:81 obviously obliterated his personal best, but the 12:96 was also a personal best because he had never been under 13 before. And right after his race, I was down at the trials. I was standing in Hayward Field watching him do his victory lap. And I got to wave at him, and he pointed at me and said to give him a call. And I said, Grant, you teased us. I thought you were going to set the world record. And he just started laughing. But his interview with us the other day, the U.S. doesn't have a training camp. And so the athletes are heading over. Well, he's heading over, I think, on Monday, because his event is early. And like you said, the athletes are limited in their time. And, I was thinking about your athlete, Jesse Judd, who is doing the 5 and the 10. And we've got a couple athletes we've got 2 men and 1 woman doing the same thing. So they're the only ones who are probably going to be in Tokyo the whole time, So that's going to be a challenge. But I was curious about the no training camp. And I asked Alan Abrahamson, the reporter from 3 Wire Sports, one of our colleagues, and he said, USATF, there's no right or wrong decision with it. USATF was trying to do it because of the information they had. British athletics took a different approach. It's kind of like how one of us has the full Olympic trials where he picked the top three, and the other one has the trials where he picked the top two, and we select. So it's just we'll have to see which country kind of pulls it off. Do you is there a large contingent of British media going over to the Olympics, Stuart?
I mean, on the calls that I've been talking about, there are probably up to a dozen. But of course, most of them are not dedicated track and field writers, but will be doing the Olympics generally. I mean, with people like Ben Bloom, Sean Ingle,
sure,
they will actually be covering all sports, chasing the British medals and everything, and it'll be interesting to see whether they are actually at the track and field athletics every night, or whether sometimes another sport will take precedence. I mean, I know a newspaper like the Times has got at least 4 people there. But I mean, it was interesting that probably of the dozen people who've been on calls, there are probably only about 3 that I didn't know. All the others would be regularly at track and field events.
Okay. What we've talked about the some of the individual athletes. What events are you starting to look forward to?
I'm really intrigued by the women's 100 meters. In a way, it is such a shame that, making no moral judgments either way, that Sha'Carri Richardson isn't there, because I'd love to have seen her go head-to-head with Shelley Ann and with Dina, Elaine Thompson. So I think that one is fascinating. I think the 2 800s will be fascinating races again. And I mean, I can see British runners running PRs and not getting a medal. I think it's that competitive. Then the 1500, I think Laura Muir has a great chance of getting a medal. I'm not sure I would say confidently that she would win. But of course, what we don't know is whether Sifan Hassan really is going to run the 15, the 5, and the 10. I mean, she's currently entered for all 3.
Yeah, that seems kind of, I think your term is daft for me. Pete Julian, her coach, I can see a double. I really wonder if she'll do the 10 and the 1500, or she'll decide to do the 10 and the 5, which she could most likely double and win in both. Although you've got Latenza Gidey, the current world record holder at the 5 and the 10 that she's got to deal with. And then she's got Faith Kipyegon. And I'm not sure anybody can beat Faith right now. I think Faith, can double in the 800 and the 1500.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm always hesitant about talking about particular races, because you don't know whether one athlete was taken more seriously than the other in the run-up to the Olympics. But certainly, if you look at Monaco, wasn't it, where Sifan and Faith were together, and Faith just ran away from her. If she feels that was a fair contest, it could easily push her towards the 5 and the 10.
Yeah. No, it's going to be very interesting. And then the men's 1500, which you've got a fine group, and we've got a very strong group, and the complexion of the race has changed a couple times because first Timothy Chariot was not included on the Kenyan team, and now he is, and really strange circumstances in that he took fourth in the Kenyan trials, and they still didn't select the man who is the world leader, as well as who had been pretty much undefeated up until that point. You know?
Because but the other thing that we have to keep telling ourselves that forget Monaco, which was a manufactured race with a pacemaker. This is going to be a championship, and I keep coming back to the comparison between the U.S. trials and the British trials, women's 800. The U.S. First lap was a bit over 56 seconds. The British one was 62 seconds because nobody wanted to lead. And so what kind of race will the 1500s be? Will somebody think, I'm going to run the legs off everyone so they can't outsprint me? Or will it be a cagey, slow race with it, as some people say, with the athletes walking around 3 laps and then deciding to have a 1-lap race? So it's so different. And I mean, again, the point that Jake Whiteman has made is that a lot of runners who do the Diamond League series have very little experience of racing, of championship racing. They're so used to having a pacemaker who's going to take you round in 53.4 seconds, and you work out your race plan based on that. But if you're just standing down the line and you don't know whether somebody is going to try to run a 50-second lap or a 60-second lap, and everyone's going to be bunched and it's going to become a sprint. It's a totally different race, and it's not just the best athlete, but the person who gets the best tactics.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to explain it, and what our viewers need to understand is that in most men's championships, we see these slow tactical races. In the 10,000, you'll see the first half being run at a pace where everybody's at, and then all of a sudden they hit the 5 and boom, somebody takes off, and there's a whole group. And those are the kind of races I was looking back at. I went onto the My Info site for Tokyo, which is a great resource, and I looked up the last, since 2012, the 10,000 meter champions in the worlds as well as the Olympics, and our friend Mo Farah will not be there, and Galen Rupp will not be there either. And I think Joshua Cheptegei, is the man to beat, and there will be obviously who is it? Komif Kajelka from Ethiopia. He just showed his form pretty good too. So we'll have to see what happens there.
I don't think we know yet what Jakob Ingebrigtsen is running.
That's true.
Again, I think he has entered in both the 5 and the 15. So what he decides to do, I would expect Timothy Chariot to try to dominate the race, and if Ingebrigtsen's in it, how will he respond to that? I know that Jake Wakeman said both of the race in Monaco, where he ran his PR faster than Cohen Ovett, and of the Doha final where he came 5th, that in both of them he thought he ran too cautious. That he was scared of going too early and blowing up, but wonders if he should just have gone for it and hoped that the adrenaline would have carried him through. And so again, it should be interesting that if Chariot does go, and if Ingebrigtsen is there and goes with him, what will the rest do? Will they say, okay, we're running for a bronze medal, or will they try and go with the leaders?
Yeah. And then we've got, we'll know there. Yeah.
We'll know in a week or two.
We just got an alert last night that Matthew Centrowitz, the 2016 Rio gold medalist, is making a American record attempt on Saturday in Portland, Oregon. And if people are in Portland, they can go to Jesuit High School and they can get into the track for free. And it will also be streamed for free, thanks to the folks who put on the Portland Track Classic and the Stumptown Classic, which some Brits ran. But this is the first time that Matthew's ever come out before a race and said, hey, I'm going for the American record, which is a venerable 3:46:31 by our friend Alan Webb, who did that back in, 2007, right before the World Championships. So it's going to be, I think Matthew's quite fit. Cole Hawker, who surprised me a bit. He was the gentleman who won our trials, but that's not what surprised me. What surprised me is we came out the other day and said, I haven't been vaccinated. And when he was asked why, he said, well, because I had COVID 2 months ago, and, the antibodies are built up in my system. And I was under the mistaken impression that the USOPC had said, athletes, you need to get vaccinated. And it's, I'm a little, the reason why I'm not going to Tokyo is, even though I've been vaccinated, because of a couple previous health issues, I just didn't want to push it, and just being, I'm embracing that Tokyo's being very careful, and it sounds like it. One of the things that Alan Abramson, one of our colleagues, said, he said, yeah, people are isolated. He said the numbers, percentage-wise in Tokyo, are better than what they are in Los Angeles. Los Angeles has a 3.2% infection rate, and Tokyo's at about 1. So I know there's been a sense of caution, and over here, I don't know what it's like in London or Oxford. But the U.S. media, we get an update every day on how many people have caught COVID that are in the Olympic Village. So, and I think that's going to be the quote unquote easy story. You and I have chatted about people who are Olympic journalists, and this is not to disparage them. There's a lot of sports, many sports in the Olympics. You and I are both specialists in that we really cover track and field. And when you were the liaison for Togo in 12, I believe, did you do the same thing in 16? Did you help Togo in 16? Yeah. When you had to do multiple sports, but with yes.
I was just going to say yes, but don't forget that the Togo is a country of less than 6 million people, so smaller than many U.S. cities. And the Olympic team in London was 6 athletes, and in Rio was 5 athletes.
Okay.
So it's a completely different experience, and none of those athletes had any expectation of reaching a final. It was just the highlight to be there. So it was a completely different. But again, that's part of the Olympics. That's part of the Olympics. Hey,
one of the things.
I'd like to throw at you.
Shoot.
I just discovered that there are 7 men's world records that have stood for 25 years or more. The discus, the hammer, the shot, and the javelin, and the 3 jumps: the long jump, the high jump, and the triple jump. Do you see any of those records going in Tokyo?
Men's shot put, most def. I think
Yeah.
you'll see a couple people. I think Krauser's obviously there. Let's see where Joe Kovacs is. Joe will be coming down from the mountain again,
Mm-hmm.
and then Thomas Walsh.
Yeah.
Thomas is throwing not only for himself, but he lost his dear friend, his manager, Andy Stubbs.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think that Thomas will be uh, Thomas will be especially motivated. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the men's pole
Randy,
vault, did you say
Randy,
too?
no, Randy Barnes, 31 years ago in the shop.
Yeah, yeah.
No, not the pole vault. It's all throws and jumps.
Wow. Javelin. You know what? Javelin could be
Yeah.
Johannes Feder.
Yeah.
Johannes has had
Mm-hmm.
those big 93-meter or a 94-meter throw, and he's number 2 now
Mm-hmm.
on the list. If he
Yeah.
can put it together after such a long and arduous season, I think that you can see that. So right now, I would say the shot and the javelin, the high jump.
Yeah.
No, the triple jump. The Pedro Pachado and Will
Yeah.
Clay. The
Mm-hmm.
problem is the world leader right now in the triple jump is 17.50 meters by Pedro,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think they both needed Christian Taylor,
Yes. Yes.
our
Definitely.
good friend who is
Yeah.
recovering from Achilles surgery,
Yeah.
and I just what my concern is about Will is that Will is he was interviewed. I watched him being interviewed yesterday, and I believe Will is ready and quite capable of going over 18 meters. Let's see if him and Pichardo could do that. And then
Yeah.
the long jump, the Jamaican young man, Gale,
Yeah.
is, he's had a couple 855s, and Echevarria's had an 851. But boy, 891 is a big, big difference. That was Mike Powell and Carl Lewis back in their
Yeah.
day, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And so it's just those will be interesting. I do think the men's pole vault with our friend Sam Kendricks and then
Yes.
Mondo
Yeah.
Duplantis, and we got some good news yesterday that Renaud Lavillenie, Air Lavillenie, had a good day of training. He had some injury stuff, and he was worried about being able to compete in Tokyo, and it looks like he's going to be there. So that should be fun. And looking forward to that. No, that's a great question, Stuart. I think you had the wonderful question of the of our session. I wanted to ask you how good you think your 4x1 and 4x4 teams are with your approach to the relays with the rather large British relay squad. How good are they this time around?
I think that it's hard to see anybody but the US and Jamaica getting gold and silver in the sprint relays. I mean, so basically, I think we're probably going for the bronze medal. But you see, one of the previous relay coaches was explaining to me the British approach is, America will have women sprinters who are perhaps half a second faster than the British ones. But if the British ones can say, change the baton 0.2 of a second quicker than the Americans at both changes, suddenly you've made up 0.4 of that 0.5. And that is what we do. I mean, I remember last in Doha, Des Bryant telling me that she thought she'd only taken a baton from the girl before her twice, ever. Whereas if you're talking about, I mean, funny enough, I asked the question of Dean Asher-Smith with this morning, and she said, you know, Daryl, Nita, and I have been running relays together since we were 15. And I would suggest that anybody in that British squad has literally taken a baton from the other one 100 to 200 times. And that is what gives us a chance. I think the women, I would be fairly confident. Men, less, I don't know. I don't see any of our men being really very close to a medal. I mean, Zarnell Hughes has tremendous talent, but just has yet to produce it. Jamili is better on the 200 than the 100. Reese Pressad said that he has been having too much fast food, and he got to the stage where he was, I think it was 10 pounds overweight. And so I'm less sure about the men's relay. The 4x4, I just think at the moment we're not as strong as we have been. And because this is a problem for us because we have medal targets. And in London 2017, we got 4 relay medals, which really helped the medal target. So sure. I don't know. And the other thing is, Christian Malcolm is now the head coach. I mean, you can't blame him if things go wrong because he's only been in post for 6 to 9 months. But he doesn't have the experience of a Neil Black or a Stephen Maguire. He has brought in as his assistants Darren Campbell and another person whose name just escapes me. Very experienced athletes, but neither of them had a coaching certificate at the time.
Yes, we were talking about that. Yeah.
At the time they were appointed, so they're not experienced current coaches. So I would say the coaching of the relay teams is not what it was. But then that's part of the way British athletics has been going, getting rid of the old guard and bringing in new people, which, you know, it's great if it works, but if it didn't, I think questions could be asked. And I mean, Dina this morning said the relay was really important to her, but at the end of the day, Dina is hoping to get medals in the 100 and the 200, so she'll have 6 races in her legs before she comes to the relay. I mean, we've brought quite a number of men and women just to run relays. So, you know, Dina, I'm sure, will give all she's got, but equally, if you've got 6 races behind you and the mental effort of running 2 finals, you know, it may take a bit of an effort to produce your best form in a relay after that.
Yeah. No. It's huge. It's huge. I think that's something you really have to take a look at. Well, my friend, we are getting to the end of our first Tokyo breakdown, and we're going to try to chat again on Monday while you're in quarantine. Travel safe tomorrow. Look forward to your stories, and I hope you enjoy the food on the flight. You know, is it nonstop to Japan?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Just to confuse everyone, you may think you're speaking to me on Monday, but I'm actually speaking to you on Tuesday.
Wow. My brain will be just flustered, as it always is, Stuart. Have a good one, my friend. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Good talking with you. This
Goodbye.
is Larry Eder with RunBlogRun with Stuart Weir, our first Tokyo breakdown. And stay safe. We'll talk to you soon. Well, hello, sports fans. Larry Eder, RunBlogRun. Stuart just left the stage, and it is our first Tokyo breakdown. Stuart's still in Oxford. He's heading over to Tokyo tomorrow. I am going to be managing our coverage from Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin. I just had some concerns with COVID because of my past health issues. I just thought, even though I've been vaccinated, and I encourage everyone to be vaccinated, and I understand people's concerns, but I just don't want people to get sick. And so just stay safe. But so now that I've given you my little deep thought of the day, so Tokyo Breakdown, that's going to be the name of this programming on the Tokyo Olympics. You'll see Tokyo Diary on RunBlogRun. We've already got 3 pieces up. We had pieces on Ryan Krauser. We had piece on Ellie Perrier St. Pierre and Clayton Murphy. We'll have 3 more today. We also had a really fun piece on Paul Doyle, written by Dave Hunter, that I posted last night. And then this morning, we put up a piece from Chris Turner, who is the director of the Heritage, the digital museum that World Athletics does. It is so cool. You can actually take the artifacts and turn them around and see all the different ways that they look. 360 degrees is pretty cool. And you should take some time and check the place out. But they just put up, I think, about 40 pieces just that are Olympic specific, which is kind of cool. And another way to celebrate Tokyo as well. But in our conversation today, we were talking about the British team. We talked a little bit about the U.S. team. The British team does have a official team camp. The U.S. team does not. Again, it's like how the U.S. does the trials where you select the top 3 and that's it, baby. And the British have their trials where you get 2 and then they select someone. Who can say which method is better? I find them both fascinating. There are times when the absolute brutality of the U.S. trials, it's like great theater. And it's it's just like great theater, and it's you have to embrace it. And the British trials had some of that too. But so we chatted a little bit. I think the best question of the session was Stuart challenged me to consider that the 3 jumps and the 3 throws on the men's side, those Olympic records are all over 25 years old, and wanted to know if I thought any would be broken. I told them the men's shot and the men's javelin have the biggest chance, but the men's triple jump with Pedro Pichardo and Will Clay could go, as well as the men's long jump, because there's Cuban and Jamaican stars in that long jump that could just do something pretty special. But also, we forgot about Javon Harrison, the LSU star, who won both the high jump and the long jump at the U.S. trials, and is the first American, I believe, since 1904 or 1908, who will be going there. And that double was done last in 1904, I believe. I'm going to have to research that. But a lot of fun things are going to be happening in Tokyo. You'll be seeing our coverage. We really are starting up today, and we'll have 10 or 12 pieces each day. You'll see things from Justin Legatt. We've got a team from the University of Oregon, some of Lori Schott's writers who covered the Olympic trials with us, and they're going to be writing for us too. So we will keep you alert to that as well. But enjoy our Tokyo Diary and our Tokyo Breakdown, and we will have some fun video. I'm probably going to start doing some previews early next week on the track portion of the Olympics, which really starts on the 29th, I believe, and goes through the 8th. So this is Larry Eater with RunBlogRun. You have been enjoying the epilogue for the Tokyo Breakdown. This is Tokyo Breakdown number 1. Thanks again to Mike Deering, who is our production manager and who keeps all this stuff going like a well-oiled machine. And Mike is in Indianapolis. We all work remotely. But again, stay safe. If you haven't got the vaccine yet, I encourage you to do it. Talk to your medical professionals. Talk to your spiritual leaders too, if that's something you have a concern about. If it's for religious beliefs, we understand that as well. But please stay safe. The numbers are getting up again in virtually every state in the U.S. And so I suggest just being cautious. Wear a mask when you're indoors. When you're around people that you don't know, just be careful, okay? It's not accusing people of anything, to stay safe. This new variant sounds quite scary to me, and I just don't want any of our readers to get sick. Again, I want to see you at the World Champs in Oregon next year in July of 2022. Stay safe, my friends.